Kimi say now.
No, stay up. In.
Hey, man.
No, sorry. Hey, just go.
I was at the entry, man. We're in trouble.
Lewis Hamilton's drive from 14th on the grid to victory at last weekend's 2018 German Grand Prix has been described by the Briton as one of the drives of his career. But even as he was celebrating victory, there was a chance that he could have lost the win, and it was all over a pit lane entry infraction. Now, in the days that have followed, many fans have questioned why he was only reprimanded when other drivers, for example Kimi Raikkonen back in Baku, was given a much harsher penalty. Well, in order to go through and dissect the incident itself and why the penalty was as it was, there's no one better to talk to than FIA race director Charlie Whiting. Charlie, a lot of fans asking the question about Lewis Hamilton's reprimands in Germany. I guess the first question is, what rule did he actually break?
Well, Appendix L of the Sporting Code says that any line separating the pit entry from the track shouldn't be crossed in either direction. So in other words, the white line you see starting at the bollard and running around to the red and white and green bit there, drivers mustn't cross that line in any direction.
So essentially it's like for any one of us driving on a motorway. If there's a hatched line you can cross it, if there's a solid line you can't.
I suppose in some ways, yes. That's a good way of putting it, yeah.
Okay. Obviously the stewards have a number of different penalties that they can apply to these situations. What are those penalties and why did they come around to giving Lewis a reprimand?
They can impose anything from a reprimand up to 10-second stop and go penalty, which turns into a 30-second penalty after the race. I believe they chose the lightest one because of the nature of the incident itself. Mitigating circumstances such as the fact that the safety car was out, so speeds were much lower. Lewis crossed that bit of grass there in a safe way, didn't endanger himself or any other driver. So those were taken into account when they decided on the penalty, I imagine.
When we look at consistency, many people have brought up incidents in the past, for example Kimi Raikkonen in Baku a while back. Why are they different?
Kimi's one was different. It didn't involve this particular line. It was a line that was drawn for safety reasons in order to make sure cars that were inside the pit entry were pitting, because there were very high speeds involved there, something like 220 miles an hour at that point. So we wanted to make sure that for safety reasons no driver was confused by what another driver was doing. If you're inside that line in Baku, you had to pit, and Kimi didn't. And this was made very clear in pre-event notes, which I write. So that's a little different to this type of offence, which is a sporting code infringement, which is a fairly common thing that can happen. But Kimi's was similar in some ways, but actually quite different.
Is that because every pit lane, every pit entrance, every pit exit, I imagine, is different everywhere we go?
No, absolutely. I mean, the event notes, predominantly for safety, we want drivers to get off the racing line where applicable. Somewhere like Montreal, for example, you don't want a driver changing his mind at the last minute. So you want drivers to be in a particular part of the track so as other drivers following know what that other driver's doing, because otherwise it could lead to a big accident, you know. So those are the sorts of things that the notes we write, which are specific to this event, are different to those that are in the sporting code, which cover all events in all categories.
We hope that clears things up. Of course, one thing to bear in mind is that due to the nature of Grand Prix circuits all being different, the stewards will invariably find themselves in the position of trying to find a perfect solution to imperfect situations.